Awesome. GM, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Awesome that you guys are tuning in. Today, we are going to have an amazing talk with Tyler from Atari X. But before we dive into the gaming conversations with him, a quick reminder. As you may know, you can win an Alpha Pass for the Sandbox today. Now, the Alpha Pass will allow you to earn considerable amount of sand while playing the Alpha Season 3 in the Sandbox. Simply download the Sandbox Alpha from the website. And when you have the Alpha Pass, it boosts your earnings. But how can you win that Alpha Pass? You need to follow DappRadar on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Share the post that ties to this AMA. And make sure to tag some friends. At the end of the AMA, our social media team will pick a winner, and that person will be the happy new owner of a Sandbox Season Pass. Without much further ado, now let's jump in. My name is Robert Hoogendoorn. I'm the head of content at DappRadar, and with me here is Tyler Drewitz from Atari X. Tyler, welcome.
Thanks, Robert. Happy to be here.
So, what have you guys been up to? I mean, it's been a turbulent time for you guys with the NFT collection launching this week. Enlighten us.
Yeah. So just even going back a little bit further is what Atari X is, and I came in to the space at Atari, heading up all blockchain operations in April, and we launched Atari X in May. And what it is, it just takes together all our Web3 initiatives and all our partners and brings it under one house, where we can build a community, activate, and really do everything around Web3. And Sandbox was actually one of the main reasons we named it Atari X. We had all these partnerships: Atari, the little X, Sandbox, Atari Zed Run, Atari Artifact. In the Web3 space, and we actually thought it would be just great to name it Atari X so we can focus on partnerships and community and bringing everyone together. And then, yeah, we've had a busy month. A couple weeks ago, launching our Alpha Season 3, Atari Sunnyvale, which is a nod to Atari, where they were founded in Sunnyvale, California, Nolan Bushnell in 1972. It all ties into our 50th anniversary that's happening this year, starting in June throughout the entire year. Atari's been around for 50 years, which is pretty crazy. That's a long time. So that it's a nod to where it was all started in the Sunnyvale campus in California. And then we launched Blanco's Block Party last week. We launched our own collection this week, and it's a really interesting, cool utility poster project with an artist named Butcher Billy. So, and then a bunch other things happening and announcements coming. So a lot going on.
Yeah. So old people like myself, kind of grew up with Atari, but Atari went through all kinds of transformations, and now you're embracing with Atari X, you're embracing Web3. Can you go a little bit through this focus on Web3 and what's the idea behind Atari X, and where do you see this going in the next decade?
Yeah, absolutely. And really, our focus with Web3 is we see Web3 as a community focus first, where in Web 2. It was more direct to consumer. You're always selling to a consumer, going through agencies, going through other mediums, other intermediaries, and we see Web3 as a direct to community environment. It's our responsibility as a brand coming into this space to provide to that community, to have a direct line to them, to be interacting with them and building things that not only involve the community or the fans of Atari, new and old, but bring everything together in one place and have input. And Atari forever has pretty much been a one-way street. early on in the 70s, 80s, obviously technological limitations to that, but creating some of the first games. And then we want to bring anyone who's ever been a fan throughout that 50 years, or then introduce it to a whole new group of people with exciting, fun experiences throughout Web3, and then highlighting the technology around Web3. And if that means partnering with some of the people who are doing it the best or creating the best experiences or games, that's what we'll do.
So, like Atari has always been selling games, right? I mean, purely as a, like you said, a product to consumer thing. So now you're building in Web3. It's more community driven. How will we see that in a let's say business relationship wise?
Well, so yeah. I think it's cool. So one of the first things, so my and self-admitting, my first console was not an Atari. It was actually an N64. So if that says exactly my age or not, I don't know.
Absolutely.
but I played. My dad always took me to arcades, and I played a lot of our Atari games growing up, and we just loved games and gaming, and so when I came into Atari, we researched everything. I found every document you could possibly find, whether it's publicly available or not publicly available, videos, Atari Age magazines, the DC comics. Atari had 6 DC comics in the 80s, using different IPs, Centipede, Atari Force, which is a superhero one. So pretty much went through everything, which was interesting. And I learned some really cool things, including like Atari was one of the first, was the first to hire a female game developer, and she was the co-developer on Centipede. Atari was the first to introduce backwards compatibility. It introduced the concept of third-party developers. As some may know from the ending in Ready Player One, it had the first discoverable Easter egg in a video game, and that really went back to the game designer wanting to have some rights and ownership to it, because at the time only the big studios owned the entirety of the game, and didn't really say much back to which the designer, which is very Web3, providing rights to the artists and the initial creators. And then even the first introduced coin operation machines, and then even early stages of the internet, pre-internet. That's a longer story. But learning all these things, you learn about what Atari did and how it pushed boundaries in technology, industry, and really ethos as a whole. So we're adopting that original Atari spirit and what they were doing from a industry gaming perspective, from just an overall way to look progress and move forward and do new things within the industry. And that's what we're looking to take all that and bring it into Web3. One, we have a recognizable brand that can definitely help onboard and highlight some of the great technologies, gaming experiences, and games throughout Web3. But we also have that initial ethos and drive to really push the boundaries and try new things to grow Web3 as a whole.
I mean, these are super exciting times. Like, we see so many interesting gaming projects popping up all over the place, and like with a couple of 20 years ago, with the rise of internet and online distribution, then the free-to-play model came, mobile gaming came. It kind of shook up the entire business model for gaming. It went from boxed sales to online distribution to free-to-play. And now free-to-play is like the biggest market for gaming there is. Now, pushing that forward, like, how big do you think, and I know this is very hypothetical, but like, how do you see the impact of blockchain, Web3, and those types of developments on the gaming industry as a whole?
Yeah, it's a good question, and that's the crystal ball question, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
If I had the absolute correct answer to that, probably be very, very, very wealthy. Yeah, it's a good one where I see it as going as what's talked about and as not necessarily completely understood, but is that ownership aspect, getting rewarded for the time you're putting into the game, or the effort and the time you're taking to play a game. But I really see the ones that are going to be prospering going forward are the ones that are not focused on that monetary portion to start. It's going to be gameplay first. It's going to be experience first, community first, in a lot of senses, as they're starting to be more and more community based, where that's going to be the highlight, and then the monetary, that aspect is going to come just from being able to own the things that you do within that game. So whether that's assets, skins, some type of other rewards within that gameplay. But I think the priority has to be on fun experiences. Some of these existing blockchain games are slogs, right? They take a lot out. You're just trying to get through and level up or earn currency or do things like that. So I think it's going to be an emphasis on creating actual quality games where NFTs blend in way more. They make way more sense, and it's just more of that digital ownership that comes out of it.
That's a little bit like the play to earn versus play to own versus free to own versus play and earn terminology. In which team do you fit?
Oof, that's a tough one. I don't want to make anyone mad with this one. I personally, the ones I engage with the most are more on the play to own. They're the ones that I would be playing anyway. And you earn experiences, earn other things, earn whether it's gear and then I have that digital ownership. Have I sold any of them or really traded? No, personally, but I have the option to, which is cool. So that's the one that I personally subscribe to, because I'm still very much on the gameplay side, and that's where I'm going to be spending my time, is just playing games anyway. So owning the assets at the end of me playing a game session, it's, I think, pretty cool.
Yeah, to be honest, I agree. Like the moment it's like, personally, I always think it's play to earn and all those play to own, play and earn. I always say, to me, it's tomatoes. It's basically the same thing, but purely from a game experience point of view. Like, it needs to be fun first, and if you at the end of the day, earn something from it, or you get something from it that you can call your property, then that's the Web3 way. And so yeah, I feel what you're saying here, definitely.
I understand all sides as well. So I understand that some people want that gratification of earning something, and so I like trying to balance that and provide both in everything that we're doing in the future. So I think we'll make most people happy with our initiatives.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at like traditional MMOs, right? You always had people farming herbs and or gold or whatever, stone, and like that type of repetitive activity is purely done to earn something, to make profit, or to earn something in that game economy. So put that to Web3, and being a farmer in an MMO can provide I'm not going to say stable income, but it can generate an income.
Yep, absolutely. And I could tell you, and some people just really enjoy doing it too. My girlfriend is one of them. Yeah. She grew up on a farm in the middle of nowhere in Canada, and she just loves playing those farm simulators and can do it all day. So there's the enjoyment factor in that as well.
Absolutely. So I got some questions from the audience. Going back to your 50-year anniversary NFT collection, Are there any perks to holding those Atari NFTs?
Oh yeah. So we've laid out just a few of the basic ones that are coming up in the next week or so, week and a half. But we have a lot of them coming up. One of the perks is holders will receive. We have a good amount of alpha passes. I don't want to say the exact number until we announce it, but it's definitely more than 10, more than 20, more than 30 alpha passes. Season 3 alpha passes.
It's 40. It's 40.
It is exactly 40. I said it. Yeah, we have 40 alpha passes that we'll be giving away in an interesting way, and then every holder gets a $100 credit to Unstoppable Domains, where you can get a .x domain or address, which I think is pretty cool, or get 3 lower level ones, whatever you choose. And then we have physical prints. So anyone with we have a really cool trait system. So we have over 370 traits with this NFT project, and the way we did it is it's great art. The artist butcherability.
Oh yeah.
Kind of went viral with Stranger Things, a bunch of Netflix projects. It's Cobra Kai recently, and others. In my opinion, the coolest 70s, 80s pop culture artist out there. And he was amazing to work with, and he did such good art. And we did really cool traits that we're going to activate in interesting ways. So there's no bad NFT of the bunch. If we're going to, one day we might give out Aqua Venture cartridges to anyone that's holding the Aqua Venture NFT, the 250 Aqua Venture IPs, things like that. So we're going to do really interesting raffles, giveaways, using blockchain as a technology and a mechanism to reward in fun experiences and fun ways. And then the physical prints are actually really cool. Anyone who has a sticker on their bottom left gets a free framed physical print. Actually, that's one of the examples right up here above my shoulder. And the rest can buy at a good discount. Any holder gets a discount of their NFT, and it creates some interesting psychology of we're reverse engineering how the art world views prints. So maybe you have 100 numbered prints of the same picture, and you have 1 of 100 or 6 of 100. If you bought this NFT and you print it and you hold on to the NFT, you'll own the only 1 of 1 physical print of that artwork forever if you never sell it. But we also have a counter where you'll be able to check how many were actually printed before you. So maybe if you print one that was printed 3 times and you print it, you own 4 of 4 of that actual physical. So it's just an interesting way of spinning it on its head. Plus we have various other activations, including a bunch of Atari games, products, partners. Everyone's getting involved. It's cool.
Yeah. Okay. I think I will need to go to OpenSea after we're done. I need to pick one up, Tyler.
and it's just the starter. This is just so we did a limited run of only 2,600, and this is just the starting project for us. Really, we're bringing back a lot of what is old is new again. So we've kind of hinted at an Atari club, and I can say that is coming. And for those that don't know, Atari Club was in the late 70s, 80s. And there was magazines that would come out monthly, and you subscribe these magazines to the Atari Club, you would get a magazine every month, and there would be rewards in it. There was things called ARCs, Atari Redemption Certificates, kind of like tokens, like original. And you would cut them out, and you'd be able to send them in for merchandise and for games, and it was a really interactive club. There'd be group meetups. Atari Age, there's a forum online, Atari Age, that was actually just an Atari Age club back from the 80s. And so we're going to be bringing back some really cool activations within Web3 and Web2 and physical. And with all of it, we understand where we are in the space and who we are. So with all of it, it's going to be gamified and fun and Easter eggs throughout. Like we have a hotline right now for that NFT project. 888 Atari 50. US works well. International, we may have some workarounds. and we have some fun experiences and things there, Easter eggs. Sandbox will have an extension soon, not live, but others do. If you just play around, and we haven't released anything, so most of that stuff and all our partners and everything, they can activate. Maybe it's an Easter egg. It's textable. Feel free to text it. There's some cool things in there as well.
Okay, that sounds very cool. And it's such a Web3 thing, but so much nostalgia into it.
Oh yeah. I mean, Atari had a game help hotline.
It's very common back in the 80s, right?
Yeah, and Nintendo's, I think, is still running.
Is it?
It might have closed a little while ago, but I don't want to say either or because I'm not sure. But it's you were stuck on a level, you were able to call in and they'd walk you through it. It was.
Did you ever do that as a kid?
Yeah, Nintendo's, absolutely.
Yeah.
Wave Runner. I was stuck on a level in Wave Runner, which sounds weird, and if you ever played the game, you shouldn't.
That's the jet ski game, right?
Oh yeah, still one of my favorites.
Okay.
I have my original N64 and all my high scores from when I was a kid, and my sister's high scores on that. That means the world to me. That game and that physical copy.
Awesome. Another question somebody had is: will there be a partnership between Atari and DappRadar? Yeah, I don't know. No comment at the moment, right?
I think no comment.
Probably. It's not in the outside the realm of possibilities. Let's put it. It's Web3. It's all about connecting communities, connecting people. So why not? Okay, so you guys are now moving quite big into the Sandbox, right? You were one of the first partners to be announced for the Sandbox. You now have your great experience. I already saw some comments saying it's the best looking experience in the bunch.
That means
you have you also have had some NFTs within the Sandbox, like characters that people can buy. Now, you're doing a lot more than just the Sandbox. But how do all those different initiatives? So your NFT collection that you just launched. The Blankos partnership, the Sandbox virtual world. How does that all tie together, and how do you make sure it doesn't become loose sand like everywhere?
Yeah. So this is the part I love, partnering and working with people, and this is the best part about Web3. If this was like a Web2 company, and I did this, I worked in startups for most of my career, and so it's trying to figure out what those pieces go, like the pieces of string go together, and if they actually work together, and it's really hard to piece them together. You either need, in the tech world, you need APIs or some other integrations, and the great thing about Web3 is you can communicate and talk to each other in different ways using blockchain, using the technology. So even if it's as simple as we integrate within a different project, the Sandbox NFTs, or we can link directly, basically create a portal directly into our Atari Sunnyvale, that's so much easier to do. And also for activations, giveaways, raffles, point systems, gamification, working with NFTs in every project we've touched over the past 3 years, we're going to be building that into a type of point system and raffles within our Atari ecosystem. So any NFT you ever held that has Atari on it is going to have a value to it, and we're going to be operating with that. And then we're going to be integrating it into different experiences. We created something with a partner of ours called the Partners Portals, and we created something called Room 33, which is kind of a virtual roadmap. No wallet needed. No, it's Web 2, but it's also Web 3. It's they have we could have had wallet connection, everything, but we want to make it as accessible as possible. And really, you go in there and it feels like kind of like the Sandbox, but just a little different graphics. But it's just a room, and we kind of did an escape room where you learn about everything we're doing. And we're going to be building experiences into that. There's PC terminals. We're going to have a PC terminal that links directly out to the Sandbox. We're going to have other partners where it links to their product. It's all web-based, so we can integrate really interestingly. We could have things where only certain holders of that NFT get access or get rewarded. And we're going to be building this through different environments, different mediums, different metaverses. For example, holders of one of our previous partners' NFTs, actually, we have it linked in the Sandbox. So if you log in with that wallet, you get additional raffle tickets for an alpha pass. So that just shows the interoperability from a low level, easy level. And as we move forward and really build out the tech, that will get more complicated and more fun, honestly, with higher rewards. But to start, just that interoperability is great.
Yeah, to me, like, interoperability is really the thing that interests me the most about gaming, about blockchain gaming. Like that's really that excites me. You know, the idea that you win something in game A, and then because you own it, you can do something in game B. Yeah. And I guess in your Atari metaverse, so to say, like you can work towards a situation where people play game experience A, they finish it, and because they finished it, they in a, let's say, a Atari Battle Royale game, they unlock a certain skin.
Yep.
So that's the stuff I love.
It's also the expectation of what interoperability means, right? That was definitely the buzzword for the past 6 months was interoperability, and everyone was trying to figure it out from either a crypto standpoint or an NFT standpoint. And I think it's important to understand that interoperability doesn't mean if I have this NFT, if I go into any of these quote unquote metaverses, it's going to initially transfer over. There still needs to be that language, that speaking to that NFT and that pre-built partnership. I mean, AI is going to change that eventually with some of these projects, but it's really just the ability to be able to get something from one place and then get a benefit in another. And I really think that's cool. And so I agree with you. I'm really excited to see that grow. And just a shout out to Seb and his team at the Sandbox for what they've done with their avatars. I think is a great example of that, where you can get a cool cat avatar just from owning the original immediately in the game. I think that's exactly what it's about, right? The be able to play yourself from your favorite collection in an experience you like, and we'll have Atari of those eventually. So I'm excited about that. So, at least on a previous case, Seb promised me that one. So,
but it's not only like interoperability cool for us as users, right? I mean, for you as a business, you can literally say, like, cool cats, they're like they have a fun culture. I like what they're doing, so let's attract that community, and give them a perk in my whatever which project.
Yeah.
So it's also a marketing thing for businesses.
Absolutely. Yeah. You're absolutely right, and especially with us being a brand and a major right holder. Well, not even, this is just me personally. I'm fascinated by IP rights, and that's also why I love Web3 currently, and the direction it's going in with a lot of these projects and CCO. And so it's how can we best use CCO as a brand to really grow, or as different IPs to really grow Web3 and integrate an additional additional experiences and partnerships. And it was shown before. I don't know if you saw it on this video here. We kind of have like an upside down world in the bottom, in like the basement underneath our Fuji logo building, and we have a Goblin Town goblin in there, and its name is Urki, and the Goblin Town guys are our friends, and actually our developers are the same Goblin Town developers, and so that's just a nod to them, and more on the CCO and potential partnerships of what we're trying to build. So things like that we love doing, and rights and interoperability allow that.
Yeah, it's cool. Like copyright is super interesting. Like Atari itself has many brands built up over decades of game development. Right now in the Sandbox, you're using certain brands. Can you elaborate a bit on why these ones in particular?
Yep, we have 17 different IP in Atari Sunnyvale in the Sandbox. And see, these are some of the classics, some of the favorites. So you have Pong, Centipede, Missile Command, Asteroids, Black Widow, Sword Quest, and Adventure. So those are the pillars of Atari. Then we have some. I love our IP catalog. I think it's the farther down the list I get, the more interested in it I am. So we have ones like Human Cannonball, for example. Like it's just it's such a great concept for an early game, simple, easy, and it's just a great IP. So ways we can reimagine these type of things. So what I liked is we wanted to show scale with Atari Sunnyvale. And as you're walking through right here in the asteroids and the floating asteroids is really cool. And the giant Pong board. And obviously, as we move along, this is just still alpha. We're going to have more playable experiences. So ideally, one day you're going to be able to play that Pong board and step up and do those type of things. That's on the wish list roadmap. But then we also have like Crystal Castles experience, which is not everyone knows that IP, that game. It's has a cult following for sure. Bentley Bear is by far one of my favorite characters in the Atari universe. And it's just a good game. So this is actually, you see these portals here. If you go to the Crystal Castles, you can go in through that portal and play one of our first mini games. So those portals will all be mini games in time. The next two are in development at the moment. And if you go in and you play Crystal Castles, it feels like a sandbox version of Crystal Castles. Looks, feels, there's different levels. You basically, I don't know if this is a spoiler or not, but I won't spoil it too much, but you get wearables throughout the gameplay, and you basically become one of the characters with those wearables. It's fun. It's a good game, and just shows what can be done in the Sandbox on the gameplay side. And we'll keep experimenting and pushing that forward of games within the Sandbox and those type of experiences, as opposed to just Quest, which I personally love as well.
So you're using lots of the legacy of Atari. Where are you going with brands themselves? Like, are you as Atari X developing your Web3 native brands in a similar vein as we have Bored Apes, or like the Sandbox, so to say? Like, are you also looking at developing your own Web3 native brands, or are you going to rely more on the classics and reimagining them?
That's great. That's a great question, and I would say right now it's a mix, more on the classics and reimagining at the current moment. But we do have ideas of introducing familiar but new type of IP or characters throughout what we're doing. So the classics and what we found out is, again, going through all those initial documents, IPs, comics, there is such good content that was created. Atari was hiring the top artists, the top writers, the top game developers and designers throughout the 70s and 80s, and putting a lot of time and energy and resources to this. And they've kind of, most of it has been sitting there since then. And so we have this plethora of really cool things that a lot of people spend a lot of time creating. So we're going to be reimagining a lot of that, bringing a lot of it back, bringing those storylines and those characters and the artwork and really that feel and look back and reinventing it in new ways, or branding it in new ways. highlighting this technology of Web3. So it's kind of a mix of both. I don't know if that's a cop-out answer or not.
Well, to be honest, like I consider myself kind of an old school gamer. Like I was alive during Atari 2600, so that kind of puts me in a certain age frame as well.
But I really, it's not going to be interesting just to you. I really think that these storylines and this everything is this interesting, where it's gonna introduce a lot of these characters and brand the games to a lot of people that had no idea about them previously.
No, exactly. That's where I was going as well, because Bentley the bear, it's a character you can buy right now in the Sandbox marketplace. And you said it was one of your favorite ones. It's actually one of my favorite ones from the Atari NFT collection as well, because it's such a with his magic hat on, it looks it's such a cute character. And I was like, okay, I need to buy that one. I don't know it, but I just want to have it. So yeah, I have that one in my wallet. So that's why
you have to check out Butcher Billy's interpretation of Bentley there. It's I wouldn't say cute, but it's different. I personally love it. It's great. It's great. Basically, okay, grown up, jacked Bentley bear.
Okay, I'm going to look that up.
At 50 years old.
So for everybody who's now tuning in, who missed the intro, keep in mind we have one Alpha Pass to give away. Our social media team will hand it out at the end of this AMA. What you need to do to join the giveaway is retweet our AMA post, follow DappRadar, and tag some friends in your comment. So follow DappRadar, retweet, and tag some friends, and then you are in the raffle to win an Alpha Pass. And with an Alpha Pass, you can, of course, join the Sandbox Alpha, but you can also win Sand tokens through your participation. So make sure to join, and you can earn while having fun instead of having fun alone, which is, of course, double as good. Oh, well, anyway, join. Back to the questions. So you had this, you have this Sandbox experience, and people can make their own games. Like I have Bentley the bear. I can now decide to use my land and use Bentley the bear in my game experience. Traditionally, that would be a very weird thing. Like somebody making a game and using Super Mario. Then the Nintendo copyright lawyers would be on top of you within days. So how do you as a company look at this development where random people can use your IP to create an experience, for example, in the Sandbox?
We want people to create. We want to use anyone who wants to develop, to design, to create, to come up with concepts. We are open to that, and we'll be fostering that, especially in the Sandbox. We have a build competition that was just announced, where it's you're mashing up two different Atari IPs and building a Sandbox world around it, assets, whatever. And we want to see the creativity and create that builder community around a more traditional or familiar IP. And we want people to create new experiences using our stuff. I think that's where the good things come out. We have a lot of Sandbox land. So for people that we're figuring out exactly what to do with it, but there will be a lot of community involvement in the development of that land. And we'll be empowering people to build and to create, to come up with new experiences, new ways that you can operate within the Sandbox. And we'll be fostering that throughout, with helping with our resources, which is our IP, which, like you said, in a lot of places is very closed off. We want people to create fun new experiences for IP. Obviously, within some type of guidelines, so there's not bad things everywhere, but where it can be used in new and exciting ways. So we're all for it, and we're going to be actively promoting it and building out that community as well.
So in the Sandbox as a gaming platform, it's great, and people can contribute. Anybody can build. At the same time, you have your own platform, like with your own hardware. Like Atari, people who don't know, like Atari 2600 is one of the first, probably the first home gaming console, or at least the one that hit mainstream. I think there were some other ones as well. And now you have your own Atari hardware as well, aimed at blockchain gaming. Can you tell us a bit about what the device is for people who are not familiar, and where you will bring this?
2018 was an interesting time. So the current CEO and COO wanted to see if there was a viability for a new age Atari console. And Atari pioneered gaming console and game console design, development, what can be done from third-party developers as opposed to all in-house. And so they wanted to see the appetite of Atari creating this new console, and they crowdfunded, huge demand, and then they had to build the thing. And building a console in new age is pretty complicated. But the VCS, I think, is an overall triumph. So we have the Atari VCS. It's for sale. It's very interesting. It's more of a niche product at the current moment, where it's a smaller user base overall for sure. We're still bringing games on, bringing developers on. There's something over 45, 50 third-party games on. Obviously, every Atari game is on there. Over 200 Atari games, including all the new Recharged series that came out, and even one of our first new IPs in years, Combinera, which I've been playing a lot of. New content, but then it can be unlocked as a mini PC as well. So we're going to be introducing some blockchain games and experiences and wallet connects to the VCS, where it's going to be easier and more accessible than some of these higher power PCs you'll need to play some of these blockchain games, but still have that console feel overall for this blockchain gaming. And it's still going to be niche. We're not going to be promoting this mass market. This is just going to be a thing that we're going to be offering just as a new, different experience. And we'll definitely be offering a lot of VCSs as rewards to holders and anyone in our ecosystem overall. So there'll be multiple ways to experience that.
So you're not going to mass market it, but you did say you want to make onboarding easier. So. Yeah. And this is just my thought process here, so bear with me. Like major struggle right now, of course, MetaMask, private keys, that kind of stuff. On top of that, different blockchains. Some support MetaMask, others have their own type of wallet. Like, how would you see easier onboarding, and what would it look like on, for example, Atari VCS?
Yeah, that could be more of a Dapp question too, right? So that could be more absolutely. Of easier integrations, easier onboarding processes through people. We really like our partnership with Unstoppable Domains and what they're offering to really help the onboarding process and simplify certain aspects of understanding. I know as someone who, everyone's onboarded into Web3 who's in it, and everyone has different routes, and there's no real easy way. So finding solutions, and we can help with that on the VCS by either preloading or recommending. So it's just a easy solution, because there's a lot out there, and finding those right sources can be difficult. I know DappRadar is a great source for a lot of this, and it's getting those right sources, those steps, and then being able to execute. So on the VCS, hopefully one day soon, we'll have that all pre-built in. So it makes that whole process a little bit easier and secure. Obviously, security is a big portion of that. So hopefully we'll have that soon.
So so you mentioned you have different games already on the Atari VCS. are there some of them probably already familiar to the Web3 community?
So that's a great question, and that's actually why we created Atari VCS. I mean, not Atari VCS. Why we created Atari X as a whole. As many people know, the gaming community and Web3 communities, there's a little bit of a divide, not necessarily from the people, but from the technology and the pushback. Gaming, had some hangovers with microtransactions and what that is, and just the understanding of what blockchain and NFTs are. So anything we were doing within Web3 early on, and this is pre me coming on, was just kind of left in a vacuum. We really couldn't promote it through Atari channels and things like that. So that's why we created Atari X as that connector where we could build a community, talk about it constantly, update, provide actual infrastructure and internal projects. And that's kind of what we're doing with the VCS. The VCS isn't going to be just a blockchain box. There will be some activations and some features, and if you want to be, it will be. But can play any other games as possible. And so if anyone who loves just retro, classic, or indie gaming on the VCS can enjoy that experience as well. So really, it's a console. It's a mini PC, so you can pick and choose and build it out how you'd like.
Best of both worlds. Best of both worlds. And now you're looking to partner with Web3 studios. And are you also looking at Web2 studios? Is that something you're envisioning? Like, I'm looking at some of the gaming competitors out there, like Gala Games, who they try to onboard Web2 studios into making blockchain games. Is it also something you're looking at?
Yeah, so Atari Games and our game team is developing many games at the current moment. We're producing multiple games, whether they're reimagined, new IP. In the calendar year, we have a good amount coming out, and we'll be integrating the Web3 community into those games in interesting ways. But as far as development, it's a mix of both. Again, I'm kind of in between a lot of it. But it's true, though. Like, there are some Web2 studios, traditional, either large or small indie devs or AAA, that are just not interested in Web3. They're staying away from it. They're either waiting to see how the mass market approaches it and really sees it. But there are others that are very interested. And then there are ones that kind of, like, if the project is right. But we're looking at for Atari X, we're looking at developing Web 2 style games that have a Web3 component. So whether that's access or some of that ownership of assets, which then make it a Web3 game, but really onboarding the process where it's not going to feel super NFT heavy. It's not going to be that high buy-in or it's not going to exclude anyone to start with that type of buy-in. So really more of it's going to feel like a Web 2, but and kind of act like a tech-wise act like a Web 3. And so we've been talking to a lot of Web 2 studios about this. So we may just have a Web 2 studio as one of our main partners for this.
Cool. And so being a gaming brand that has a strong footing in the old world, now diving into Web3, what would you consider like the 3 or 4 or 5? But what would you consider the key ingredients for any brand to move into Web3?
First one, intention. What is the intention of wanting to move into Web3 as a brand? If it's just there's money over there, most likely, and this has been seen, it's not going to work well. If it's connecting with the community and developing out and providing for the people who interact with your brand, that's the right way to approach it. So the first one is definitely on that intent of entering into Web3. We're going to see some brand. It's going to continuously happen as it has happened for the past year with a lot of the NFT craze. Is just brands just getting in, throwing up an NFT, partnering with someone who doesn't maybe understand the brand, and just launching a project, and it's just going to either be like quote unquote a cash grab, or it's going to at least feel that way from the end perspective. Two is what experience do you want to provide? Whether that's a access experience, I think that's something a lot of brands want to provide, is that access. Use NFTs as a key to unlock something. And I tell my team that one of the main functions of an NFT is a key. Don't think of it as an NFT. Every time you read an article, things like that, just replace it with key or access, and it just changes the perspective on it. So, or do you want it to be a gaming experience where it's more on the ownership of assets, which I think a lot of brands will do as well. So it's the experience that brand wants to build, and that's why I love talking with brands about interaction within the sandbox, because it automatically ticks off that experience bucket where, okay, they want to build something as opposed to just a marketplace or a e-commerce site that happens to be NFTs or Web3. They actually want to build an experience that people can interact with. So that's something that's positive when entering. And so intention, experience. Third one would have to be who your partners, right? Like, I think that's huge in this space. Some of the best people I've worked with in business are in Web3. At the same time, some of the worst people I've worked with in business are in Web3. So it's finding those right people, and the right people that align with what you want your vision to be. No one's going to be able to create everything they want in Web3 on their own. I'm certain of that at this point. We're lucky enough to have, in my opinion, the best developers out there on our team, on our side in Nifty Labs. They're innovating with some of the coolest projects like Goblin Town, Truth Lab, Illuminati, and others. And so we're able to innovate and ideate and work through concepts. Same with on the game development side and some of our partners and like the Sandbox and Portals and even Butcher Billy in the space as an artist is what he has envisioned. So who you align with and who you partner with is important, especially when it's community focused. So just picking a crypto partner or someone like that you may not know or know the background in may not be the most beneficial. And I learned that right away coming in, just with some of the partnerships that were set up prior to me being here, and working through of what was best for our brand and how we were going to interact with them. And it's hard because blockchain and Web3 is immutable. If you create something, unless there's a burn mechanism, it lives there. So it's working through with who you believe in and who you align with as a partner, whether that be technology or gaming or experience overall.
Awesome, thanks, Tyler. I think that's I think you nailed it really there. I think community, intention, those are like really important. Almost, I'm not going to say philosophical, but very social elements that are very natural to Web3. I mean, it's also something we at DappRadar we are growing into. Like DappRadar started as a analytics platform, and now slowly we're becoming more interactive. We're transforming into a DAO and all those kind of things, and that's very that transformation for us is super interesting.
And I will have to say, I personally am a huge fan of DappRadar. I've used it constantly for as long as I've known of you guys in this space. So I think it's a super useful tool in more ways than one. So I mean, we'll talk more about that future partnership for sure.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. Before we end the stream and the AMA, some questions from the community. Will Atari, so Ekman, or I guess he's Turkish, so Akman. Will Atari be teaming with other games for special events like Gamey does or Animoca Brands does, or will Atari only focus on Atari specific games in the sandbox?
Atari X is about collaboration, partnership, and community. It's built into our ethos of what we're doing, and our intention is to work with people who maybe know more or do something different than us and are experts in it or create a different experience than us. We're good at retro, classic, and storytelling, honestly. And so someone who's going to bring a different feel, look, anything, experience, we want to partner with them. I mean, I don't want to say too much. Others coming up, but there's a bunch of cool Unreal 5 metaverse or gameplay within blockchain and Web3 that are coming, and Atari may be part of them. So there's a lot there, and Web3 is about building together. It's about that community and those partnerships. And I say in that community, I did mean brands and partners as well. That's part of the whole community. Everyone kind of breathes together in one breath. So those partnerships are more than welcome. Again, they have to align with our ethos and how we want to develop. If something's too much of just either seems like a cash play or something like that, we're gonna say no. But experience-wise, gameplay, and bringing it back to fun. Everything we're doing should be fun. That's why we're here. We're spending our time on this stuff. Let's create some fun experiences. So if it aligns with that, then yeah, absolutely, more than open.
Awesome. The kind of you mentioned Room 33. It was
Room 133. So
Room 133.
One story. We were going through old documents of Atari Sunnyvale, and we found the initial blueprints for Atari's campus in California, in Sunnyvale, California. And so we have the whole schematics, and we found Room 133 in those schematics, and that's what we're dropping you into in Room 133 on Portals.
Yeah, but what I really like about that is that you can go from Room 133 to different locations in the wider metaverse. Like, again, to go back to interoperability, like I kind of have this dream where you walk in the sandbox, you're in the Atari world in the sandbox, there's a portal, and you go to the Atari world in Decentraland or Somnium Space, or your unannounced Unreal Engine 5 metaverse world. Like, everything connects because you use a wallet, and that wallet functions everywhere. So no matter where you go, you can take your avatar from world A to B to C to D, etc. That's like my wish for interoperability.
Absolutely, and we're close, actually. But we're working on some things along those lines. Especially, it's all about finding those right partners. I know Sandbox is we're working on some of those things with them, and then it's all, no one's going to cannibalize or another. We're all going to work together on it, and there's going to be some cool activations like that for sure. I did want to. There was a comment here from Jacob Lynn. Atari Discord modder used Goblin PFP as avatar, but why not their own 50 Atari NFT? They might be talking about me, so I have a Goblin PFP as my avatar, and that's my digital identity online, because that's my digital identity online. It means something to me when I got it, and the storytelling that team created and built up, and how it made me feel and still does, and what they're building through, I think is great, and is a great example of what can be done with the technology and the storytelling and the mystery within the space. So that it means something to me, and therefore it's my avatar. Just because I work at Atari and we launched our own project, which I love, doesn't mean that better than that one, or it shouldn't be my avatar. But it's just something that I connect with, and maybe one day I do have one of our Ataris as that avatar. But it means something to me, and that's what it all is about, I guess.
Another question from Jaws77. Do you consider building games on the Gala ecosystem alongside the Sandbox?
Yeah. Yes. The short answer is yes. There also becomes resources, time, everything within game development and production, and Web3 is large, and it's growing in all directions, whether that's metaverse side, whether that's the NFT side, crypto, other experiences, Web2, Web3. So it's just picking, choosing, figuring out what your roadmap is, what your short-term, mid-term, long-term goals are, and then approaching them. So I would say yes is the short answer. Have we developed and created anything at this moment? Nope. But it's there.
Awesome. Tyler, I want to thank you very much for your time and your presence here in the AMA. I'm super excited about the future blockchain gaming, and super excited about Atari X and the role you take into the wider Web3 ecosystem. If you have any last shouts to the people who are watching, please pimp your stuff, plug it.
I talked a lot about myself in this one. I actually feel, how about I turn it on you and ask you what is yours and DappRadar's? Like, I feel like we've covered. You go.
My personal thing, like when it comes to gaming, I love interoperability. I would love to go to the situation where I play a racing game, I become platinum there, and because I become platinum there, I unlock a car in some sort of MMO. Like I would love that type of interoperability. When it comes to DappRadar, we're building the world's Dapp Store, and again, like interoperability to an extent is a part of that. Like for us, cross-chain activity, multi-chain activity is super important. Like we're tracking 45 plus different blockchains. We're tracking 10,000 dapps, and we're just getting started, right? I mean, this is the dawn of Web3, and where we are going is that DappRadar will be the central point for discovering dapps with the same way you go to the App Store or to the Google Play Store to find an app for your phone. You will go to DappRadar to find blockchain applications, and not in a similar vein, because sorry for the noise in the background. Not in a similar way, because dapps on the blockchain, they have this extra layer. Like in Web2, you judge a dapp by, you judge an app by the star rating or personal reviews, and in Web3 you can add this whole layer of metrics to it, and that's an important part of DappRadar, and that we're going to develop that further and introduce interesting KPIs and metrics, and we really want to push this world forward and make the discovery of decentralized applications easier for everybody.
And I think we're about to hit an interesting point with dapps, where as obviously the market is down, and this is time to build, as everyone says.
Mm-hmm.
But dapps make it a little bit help the onboarding process as a whole, and make it easier to interact within Web3 across different mediums, environments, metaverses, anything. So this is going to be the year of the Dapp, and I think you guys are leading all of that. So I think you guys have a great product, and excited to see what you guys do.
Thank you. And we're just getting started, Tyler. So again, thank you very much for being here. It was amazing and awesome talking to you. We would love to have you again for a follow-up in a couple of months. Thank you very much.
Happy to. It's been great. Thanks, Robert. Thanks, everyone.
Everybody, thanks for watching. See you next time.